I swear, I love that intro. I love it.
Me too, and I missed it last week, so I was just like doing one of these in my seat.
It's I spent a lot of time, finding the right song.
I
Those
appreciate
things
that.
those things matter. Anyway, squirrel moment. Welcome back to another episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Read? Tech Sales and Marketing Edition. We have a special episode today because we have the one and only Sivan on from Anixia, and unfortunately, our co-host Chris is somewhere in the world. I don't know where he is. Saudi Arabia, I think he said.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So Chris might pop in from a bus or an airplane or the desert. I don't know when, or how, but he might pop in. But we have Sivan on. Sivan, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is a special episode because actually Chris recommended Sivan come on and talk about all the good things that they're doing at Anixia and how it ties into what we're doing from a communication standpoint. We're going to talk about communication and security practitioners just shortly. But before we kick that off, I do want to go through some housekeeping items for those who are on the show, veterans and newbies. If you are new, what we do here is we break down the worst marketing and sales messages that we come across in security. I actually have one WTF moment that I do want to share very shortly.
It's so bad.
Yes. And obviously, Maria and Sivan, if you have anything to pick from the spam inbox, by all means, please do share. And then what we do is we shift over to a topic, and we're going to invest most of the time on this episode today to talk about all the good things that Anixia is doing and what Sivan is building over there. If you have questions, comments, feedback, drop them in the comments. Or if you want to come on the show and actually talk to us, drop that in the comments and we'll bring you on. That's the drill, basically. All right, WTF moment of the week. I got a message actually a couple days ago from somebody looking forward to connecting with me. And I was like, cool, sweet, marketing director. Those are the people that I talk to. Saw that they were doing podcasting stuff. Awesome. That's what I do too. And then I said I was happy to connect. And then yesterday, I got a message from this person saying, hey, Danny, thanks for connecting. Was wondering if Audience First has thought about creating a podcast.
I can't.
And I was just like, this is the best one today because Audience First start is the pod. It started from the pod. I mean, I have 2 podcasts, and if you look at my profile, if you just look at the profile, you notice that most of it's podcasting stuff. So I thought that was the WTF moment. There's no alternative, better message. The best thing is just to research and not reach out. And maybe reach out and say, hey, we would love to collaborate and maybe do something cool with podcasting. So
maybe that would work, but
just a quick look at your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
Just look at her picture. It's that easy. I don't know. That's
seriously.
That's crazy. I was at a trade show last week, and it was funny because I got to scan the badge and do the thing and blah 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 blah. And somebody the vendor next to me, we hadn't even gotten a chance to talk yet. My colleague and I flew in Wednesday. We both got hit with the norovirus in Austin, Texas. So we're out for the count the first day and then had to scramble, get everything set up. And we were not feeling that great the day of the show. And I'm like, if you want to enter the raffle, I gotta scan your badge. It's just part of the game. This person said, he was a pretty well-known CISO, and he says, well, are you going to spam me? And the vendor next to me in the booth goes, don't you know who that is? She has a whole thing about doing that. She won't do it, I promise. And I was like, oh my God, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then got to explain to this particular person, yes, I'm probably going to follow up with you and just say, hey, we talked about this. It was nice to meet you. Let me know if I can ever help you with anything, but I'm not going to add you to a list and have marketing spam you for days and days and days. But I mean, that was kind of a cool, people are watching this. That's cool.
The right people, which is most important.
And I got to meet Cody. Cody's on. I got to meet Cody in person.
Yes.
This is cool.
Very cool.
I had a conversation with the CISO last week who told me that he often gets these emails from vendors trying to sell him something, like we all do, right? But then at some point, those vendors are becoming so upset he's not responding to them, and then the email is becoming like very aggressive, like how dare you not responding to our emails? And it's like it's just yeah, it can be believable.
Or like, this this isn't unique to the cybersecurity space, but I signed on for a trial of a SaaS tool, and the onboarding process wasn't smooth, and then I got a message from the founder who said, "Oh, hey, we saw that your onboarding process wasn't working," and so I replied to that person, like the payment, like the Stripe thing. Didn't work with the Stripe integration, so it just went to like a 404 or something like that. And so I replied to that CEO, and then I got an automated response back saying, like, completely out of context, and you could tell that I was in a nurture flow, right? And I was just like, nobody's responding to my trial onboarding flop that I want to use the tool, like I'm a potential customer. They're putting me through a cadence because I responded. The trigger was I responded to the email, and I didn't get any follow-up from the actual contextual request, which was annoying. So I got on a call with a guy and I said, hey, like, you put me into a yes flow. You might want to get me on to trial this versus demo it, because now I have to spend an hour talking to you when I could have just used the tool. Anyway, I want to jump into the core of the conversation, but before that, Sivan, how about you tell us who are you, what do you do, and why the hell do you do it?
Yeah, of course. So I'll start with a short introduction about myself, and then what really led me to build Onyxia. So I started my career in the army in Israel. I served for 10 years. I was a cybersecurity officer, and in my last role, I was the CISO of the Research and Analysis Division and the head of the Information Security Unit for the Intelligence Corps. After my military service, I started to work very close with CISOs and security experts, and often I had a chance to really build with them their security programs for their own company. About 6 years ago, I shifted into the startup world. I joined Pyramid 81. Back then, we were developing a zero trust remote access solution. It was like back in the days when zero trust wasn't such a well-known thing. And working there with CISOs, I realized that there is no real way for them to understand what is the right way to implement a specific product, how a specific product really serves their security program. And it was a very interesting experience, and it made me really start and think about this whole idea of automating security programs and the way we're measuring our security programs KPIs. And when I decided to basically jump into this space, I started to speak with CISOs, and that's when I realized that there is a real gap. Most of the time, companies are still measuring security programs in Excel sheets. We have this Excel from hell with all the matrices, all the different domains we need to measure, and it's becoming very hard at some point to do this process manually. That's on top of the fact that we have at least in enterprises, we have between 30 to 50 security products, and getting all the data out of those products and leveraging and processing it is becoming very, very hard. And many times we see that, some more mature companies had a team of analysts who are basically doing this, but it's not automated, and it's a very time-consuming process. We also see that in the past year, at least, we have the new SEC regulation that require companies not only to disclose incidents in 4 days, but also to disclose their security programs and strategies. And that's, I think, what really making platforms like Onyxia a must to have for almost any organization. And that's in a very short version, the very short version of our story, and what really led me to build a product and to start Onyxia. Besides that, I didn't mention, but I think it's important to mention that I'm very passionate about security and cybersecurity education. I was part of the faculty who developed the cybersecurity master's program for YU, and I'm the program director of this program. And I think this is really my way to give back to the community and to educate the next generation of security experts, which hopefully will be those CISOs who will handle security programs for large companies in the future. So
You said NYU, correct?
YU Yeshiva University.
YU. Okay.
High school.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love that. That's awesome. What a cool way to give back.
100%. I imagine that I mentioned that there are some risks in doing things manually. What are some of the issues that come across the CISO's plate when they do those manual processes with regards to their security programs, measuring that and such?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, each CISO wants to have the ability to ask simple questions and get simple answers. And today, with having the data in different places, it's becoming very, very hard. And my dream as a CISO was to be able to wake up in the morning, and like I'm asking Alexa, "Hey Alexa, how is the weather today?" To be able to go to one place and ask a platform like Onyxia, "Hey Onyxia, what are the top 3 things I should be afraid of today? What are the top 3 things I should focus on today?" And get those simple answers. And when you need, like someone is waking you up in the middle of the night and ask you, "Hey, how are we doing from a detection and response perspective?" Okay, there are so many ways to answer that. But the best way is to have really data-driven platform that help you get these answers. And the way we do that is we actually collected around 200 Excel sheets. We were talking with 200 CISOs. We were trying to understand what are the top best practices, what are the top KPIs and metrics that CISOs are measuring for each domain. So, I mean, we all know mean time to resolve, mean time to detect. So we have those like very obvious metrics, but there are so many more metrics, and there is a lot of knowledge that is not being shared between companies. And it was a very interesting experience for us to get these Excel sheets and understands and basically create this standard. So when a company or a CISO onboard to the platform, they can choose from a library of KPIs what are the KPIs that are relevant for them. And we also tell them exactly if this is what, like, we also help them compare the SLA they decide for each one of these KPIs comparing to other companies. So it's really a very dynamic, and it's a very dynamic platform. And we understand that each company has a different approach. It's CISO looking to measure different things, but we want to give all the options for those companies, and the CISO still has the control on which KPIs they activate and which data sources they're basically integrating into the platform. And obviously, all the data that is being presented for each KPI is data that we're pulling from the different data sources. So we have various integrations, and that's how we're basically feeding the dashboard.
I imagine that is super sexy for the C-suite. I mean, I hear that, and when you say obvious metrics, for me as a marketer sitting in my seat, those are not obvious metrics. Maybe for the C-suite it is, but when I hear that you have access to all that data, like I'm thinking it's a gold mine, and I want my hands on that. So we'll probably be talking afterwards. But I do want to ask. And kind of shift the conversation a little bit, because in my conversations with CISOs, one thing that emerges when talking to them is the fact that sometimes there are communication gaps between their side, the technical side, to the business side. And in being a CISO, you have to be able to translate those metrics in a way that resonates with their the business stakeholders, the CEO, CFOs, the board. So how do you address some of those communication barriers with Onyxia?
Yeah, I think really managing security program, at the end of the day, we're all here to enable the business. It doesn't matter which industry you're at. It doesn't matter if you're the CISO, the CFO, the CMO, or the salesperson. We're all in the organization in order to enable the business, and we all have to have in mind the business objectives. And when we're building a security program, we always have to make sure that this program is aligned with the business objectives, and that our security KPIs are aligned with the business KPIs. And when we're managing risks, it's quite the same way, right? Like we're always trying to understand which risks we're willing to tolerate based on the business objectives and say and like many other things that basically included in our security program. And the way we're usually looking at this is how we're addressing people, processes, and technologies. And this is something that is true for almost any organization. Um, so the way we're doing it, besides the fact that we have the ability to allow the CISO to choose the security KPIs out of this library, we also have the ability to map the environment and tell him which domains they're covering, which domains where they have gaps and overlaps and redundancies. We're trying to also save time and money
Yeah.
for the business. So there is a communication aspect, which obviously when the CISO is deciding to download a specific report from Onyxia, we have the ability to help him customize a report and only add the metrics that are interesting to the C-suite. There is also the other side of it, and it's how we're helping companies be more efficient and maximize the capabilities of their security, of their existing security stack. And I think that we often talk about like having this single pane of glass, right? What is this single pane of glass? Is it real? Is this something that, I mean, we can actually do? And Chris always says that, often vendors coming up on a call and they tell you, we're going to solve all the problems you have in the world, right? We all know that it's not true. But from our perspective, it's really how we can help companies do more with less, trying to maximize what they have, trying like understanding how each product they have in place really serves their security KPIs. And if they have gaps, okay, so that's when they probably might want to consider another product. But there is a lot we can learn from the existing data sources and from the data we have in place. And there is so much we can do with this if we have the ability to connect all the dots and understand how those products and how the processes we have in place are actually serving the business. And I think that in the board level or management level, at the end of the day, what's interesting for them is how the security program, the CISO and the security teams are enabling the business and how they can save time and money, right? So that's really how we're looking at things.
I have a follow up question to this. So I love all of this. My question is, we're talking about being able to pick and choose KPIs, mapping everything back to business KPIs. Is that a function that you guys have as well over there, where you understand what those business KPIs are and they can pull those in some fashion to then make some correlations in the data set quicker, easier to showcase how whatever we're doing on the security side ties back to the business? Does that question?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And it's actually something we heard from customers who are using the platform. And we're working now on having this higher level dashboard. So CISOs can basically invite other level members from the company, and they will get only the view they need based on their business objectives or the KLI, the key risk indicators that they're interested in. So at this, what we started is we basically started with the security program, and now the product is evolving to allow other C-level members to use the platform. And we really believe in creating this transparency among the organization when it comes to really the security program and how it serves the business. So we're working towards this direction and adding these capabilities as well.
I love it. That's great. So I guess another question would be like, From all of this, right? From your experience, obviously, in different, you've had 75 different hats in your career, but what are the most common misunderstandings or miscommunications that you see or that you hear your users talking about when it comes to the conversations or the kind of messaging between security teams and the rest of the business?
I think it's really related to what we have just mentioned now. I mean, often we're as security teams, we're looking at so many different things, right? Percent of users who didn't who didn't take the training and awareness session, or like so many different things. But at the end of the day, the CISOs don't really communicate at that level to the board or to the management. And I think it's really about bridging, being this bridge between the security teams and the business. And the way we do that is by speaking a language that C-level members can really understand. We can talk about like the bits and bytes of the findings we have in each one of the products. But if you map it in a reasonable way and show them how they were able to improve performance over time and maximize the capabilities of their existing security stack, make their processes more efficient, that's something that is reasonable and something that other members in the leadership or management, they can understand that. And when you also show things based on KPIs, it makes things very, very clear. So there is a reason why you have all these products in place. There is a way for the CISO to justify investments. And we often see, and again, I have nothing against GRC solutions or traditional GRC solutions. I think it's very important to quantify risks, but what's next? I mean, most of these products, they quantify the risk for you. They tell the CISOs, they give them a number. Usually the CISO really knows where they are. They don't really need these products to tell them, but it's another way to basically have accurate data or an accurate number. But our approach to risk is really how we're helping you, the company or the CISO, to improve performance in order to reduce risk. So it's a more proactive approach, and it's a more and it's something that the CISO can do something about. When you provide him with actionable insights and you give him the ability to see how he was able to improve over time and how an investment he made in a specific domain helped the company improve performance, I think that's a more valuable way for CISOs to manage programs, KPI, justify investments, and speak to the board and management level. And I can give you an example. I mean, I think really the SEC is a huge thing that happened recently, and
Yep.
it's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect businesses, and we see that now. Like CISOs are more important. They were always important, but now they're really needed in the boardroom because I can give you an example of like a client of us who basically they reached out to us. It was a very organic engagement that we had, and they were being like the SEC basically audited the company, and it was and they asked the CISO to show them how he's managing his security program. And obviously he had he had some data, he had a very manual way to show it to them, whether it's Excel sheet or some companies have a more advanced dashboards to present the data. But then they asked him, okay, did you really take all the actions that are needed in order to protect the company? This is a very broad question. I mean, how are you?
Very broad. It's very vague.
What are all of the actions needed? Like, how can you really map that? So when they came to us, I think it was very helpful for them to see how Anixa is really giving you the ability to break down all those different domains into actual KPIs and to automate the process. But the SEC also care about what you've done in the past year. And that's something that when you're managing things in like Excel sheet, you can show progress over time. And if you show it, it's like really not connected to the data. And when you need to present evidences, you still need to go back to each one of those tools and pull these evidences from there. So I think this is something that is going to really affect the way we're the way CISOs are managing their existing programs. And I think this is why Onyxia can really support businesses, whether they're public companies or not. Obviously, the SEC related to public companies, but I do think that we will have
A trickle
this.
down.
Yeah. And at some point, we'll all need a standard for a security program. Like, what are the KPIs we need to measure? So, we have Gartner has this 16 metrics, and other companies come up with something, but we will need to have a standard. And I think, yeah.
I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the sales and the marketing professional, or in Karen's shoes on your end, right?
It's
Or my
hard.
shoes. My shoes.
Oh, yes, or Maria's shoes.
Also
Yes.
hard, I know.
So as you put yourself in those shoes, they can be any kind, high heels, stilettos, or boots, whatever you want. No, but like last year when I talked to Dimitri about, we just had like an open-ended conversation on one of my podcasts. He said, how do I present to the board without killing them with numbers? That's one thing. The second is, why aren't the sales professionals and marketing professionals, the people seemingly more attuned to business acumen, not helping me translate those numbers to the business? So as you put yourself in those shoes, how do you believe sales and marketing professionals like me and Maria can learn from your approach to improve our communication with the security buyers and provide value?
We're so in sync. I was literally going to ask that exact same thing. So I love it.
Yeah, well, first, I always knew that marketing and sales it's really not an easy job. So, but at the end of the day, I think it's really about the way we're telling the story, right? And I think marketing and sales teams can really help CISOs tell the story and how they're basically, because the way we see it, and we heard a lot about this from CISOs when we spoke to them, they told us, okay, we don't want management to see all the data we have here. Like sometimes we have a specific performance score, but there is a reason why they're not meeting their SLA for a specific API, right? And the CISO knows the story. And as long as he can tell the story when he's presenting the data, it's okay if you're not meeting your SLA and if you're not 100% performing in each one of your security KPIs. What we did was within the platform, we added the ability for CISOs to add labels on the graph. So if there is a reason why there is a peak in a phishing simulation rate, click rate, for example, they have the ability to add that it was them testing the phishing simulation, right? And I think it's really about being able to tell a story. So again, I'm not going to talk specifically about how we're doing it in the product, but in a very high level, I think having everyone in the company engaged and aligned with the security goals and how it's really enabling the business, it's key. And I've been in organizations where we were able to do that. I think at the end of the day, CISOs are here to enable the business, not to tell you what you can't do, but actually to help you do things and come up with creative ways to do some things. And I can give you like an example from my experience as a CISO. I worked with them with defense industries and government and critical infrastructures. And often it's very hard to be a CISO in this type of organizations because most of the time you tell people what not to do. But you also ask people to think out of the box and come up with creative ideas. And when people want to be creative, they want to implement innovative technologies and they want to stay ahead of the curve with with some ideas that they have, then you need to allow them to do that. And I think that, I mean, a successful CISO is a CISO who can come up with solutions or innovative ideas to help people within the organization to be successful themselves and to be able to implement those innovative technologies or come up with new ideas. And and there are ways to do that. So I think, I mean, over the years, I've met two types of CISOs: those who usually say no, and those who say yes to everything the employees are asking, and they just come up with creative ways to allow them doing those things.
I totally agree. There's even from the sales and marketing side, because like as a seller, I'm also an account manager. So I become very close with these people. And we're always communicating, bouncing ideas off each other. And there literally are two types. There's the hard nose, like you're the fun governor of life and getting stuff done type of personas, and they exist and they're impossible to work with, and they're almost even more impossible to help be successful, because there is just no telling these people, like, if you articulated it this way, the business would be more receptive to what you're trying to do or whatever, versus, and it's not even a yes persona, it's almost a yes but, like, I understand what you're trying to do. The way you want to do it is probably going to open us up to like some things we don't want to have happen. Let me explore some alternative methods and come back to you and see if any of these would work for you, so that we can give you what you need to do your job, but I can make sure shit doesn't hit the fan for the business from a risk perspective. And those are the ones you want. Like, that's what we all need to work towards, that. Because they are responsible for risk and all that for the business. And sometimes it's easy to say yes because there's no risk or minimal risk, but there are times where whatever's being asked of them does have a lot of risk, for whatever, from a technology perspective, from a process perspective, from a people, whatever it is. But they don't say no. They say, I understand, I don't love this particular way of doing it. Let me just go see if I can. Let me just go think a little bit in my little office and see if I can't figure out an alternative and see if that would suffice. So I totally agree with that. And I also think, from my experience, the no people have a really hard time translating stuff from a security program perspective to the business. They can't connect the bridge largely. I think that it's when you run in, this is my opinion, but when you run into somebody that consistently says no, 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 that means to me they have one way of thinking about things, one way of doing things. They're not willing to listen to other people. They don't want to think outside of the box. And even if you're going to say no, but there's no without a reason, if that makes sense. Like, you can say no, but I would like to understand the reason why you're telling me I can't have this thing that will help me do my job better. Like, I'm fine with it as long as it's logical, but when it's just no, 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 I think those people it's kind of a tunnel vision type of situation where when you're trying to explain things to a business, you're dealing with financial personalities, you're dealing with HR personalities, you're dealing with CEO personalities, you're dealing with investor personalities, you're dealing with marketing personalities and revenue personalities, and all of those personalities are totally different. And if you only know how to communicate in a tunnel vision way, you're going to maybe be able to articulate it to one of those people. You're not going to be able to speak to that group of people to help them understand kind of what you're doing, why you're doing it, where you're failing and where you're succeeding, and what you need as a CISO to be more successful. Opinion. I am no expert.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I mean, I would like to add to this that I think it's really, like, sometimes when you have a mission as a CISO, you only see that mission, but if you're connected to the company mission or the business mission, it's a different way of communication. Because if you only see your security program and you want to make sure that you're always on SLA, so obviously you're going to say no to everyone because you want things to work for you. But at the end of the day, again, we're all here to enable the business. So
that's interesting that you mentioned that. And in learning about the CISO role for the past X years, and in talking to different people and in looking at different, publications and doing some research, people kind of segment CISOs into different CISO types, right? What do you think about that? I know this is kind of like coming in left field here but I want your input because you've been talking to the C-suite for a long time now and you're building a product for them. Do you see that those different CISO types are accurate, and does Nixia fit a specific CISO type?
Wow. I think it's the hardest job on earth. Really, like being a CISO nowadays with all the expectations and all the responsibility and liability and accountability. It's very, very hard. And also, I mean, we have all these different, but on the other end, we have great technologies that really can help CISOs and support them and help them be successful, or at least focus on what matters and focus more on the business. I don't know if I have so much to say about different types of CISOs. I think it's more about management style. Some CISOs are more hands-on. Some CISOs are, more letting go for their teams to do the hands-on job, and they're mainly focusing on the communication with the business. I think it's really what they're mainly passionate about, what is their background. We know that some CISOs are started their way in IT, so they're more likely to be very hands-on, and some of them are really coming from management role and risk management and compliance roles. So they'll have a different management style. So good question. Maybe it's something that require a little bit more thinking and research.
Can I chime in? So Danny and Dimitri did this cohort for I don't think she ever thought she was going to do this, but for salespeople. And one of the things that, to expound on what she was saying, Dimitri brought up that I had never thought about, and I'd been selling into these groups for 11 years at that point. To her point is the type of the CISO personality, and it means more of like, what is their mission and charter? So like you think of Chris, right? We all know Chris. Chris, to me, when he was at Boom, was a transformational CISO. He was going in there to build a program from the ground up very quickly, very rapidly to achieve the business requirements that they had from their suppliers and their investors and so on and so forth. And so a transformational CISO is going to be very different from a post-breach CISO, where there was just something horrible that happened, and what their focus is going to be totally different. And those CISOs are going to be totally different from somebody that goes into a super well-established organization but is just new. They're going to be more tactical and strategic, right? The tactical of what the hell do I have in my program? Who's running what? Are these tools integrated? Do I have overlap in any way? And then, kind of figuring that all out versus, and understanding like there's going to be 6 months of that. And then the next 6 to 10 months, 12 months are going to be on building strategic roadmaps to take that organization to a next level. So I think I would like to understand from your perspective how this platform you've built kind of caters to each of those different groups, and how do you message that as a sales and marketing as a business, right? Like, so if you're trying to go ahead, Danny, sorry.
No, I just didn't. I'm wondering what Sivan is thinking because we're throwing her curveballs here, but
I know this wasn't on the list. It happens with us. So.
Well, first of all, A+, Maria, you were listening in the course, and
I graduated.
All, yes, sorry, Sivan, but this is how it works. We pull on those threads.
I love that. I mean, yeah.
Did that like kind of concept resonate with you or anything?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're building a platform to solve a problem, and it's a very clear problem, and it's the way we're managing security programs, automating the process, and maximizing the capabilities of the existing security stack to ensure compliance. With that, I totally understand, and I see that in my conversations with CISOs. There are different styles. I mean, some CISOs want to have a very clear understanding of their KPIs, their SLA, and where they stand. Some of them just they have other different priorities. And to your point, I do see that, some of the CISOs I speak with are new to the organization,
Yeah.
and they want to use us, because they don't want to reinvent the wheel. Like, they don't want to reinvent like KPIs. If they can come up and choose from a list of best practices, and then they can always adjust it. It's an amazing platform for them because they can basically quite fast build a program and show results. Some CISOs are in the organization for quite a long time, and then they have their way to measure things, and it's also fine. Sometimes they want to take it to the next level, and then they will use us because they don't have the resources to build all these in-house integrations and have a team of analysts, and it makes no sense from a cost perspective. And then they will use us. But also, I mean, and we need to tell the truth. Some CISOs just don't think it's important for them, and it's not a top priority. And as vendors, we need to accept that as well. We're here to solve a problem for those who are interested in this, and hopefully, we're building something meaningful. We're not looking to convince people that there is a problem. We can also only talk about the benefits of what we're doing, and if they believe this is real, they'll give it a chance.
Based on that, considering like, so you have obviously people that are using the platform today, and I know we got to end in 3 minutes because we all have to run to go do stuff. But what's the feedback that you've heard from some of the Anixia users, or like what changes have you heard CISOs say that they've observed in their interactions with the business because of the platform?
Mm-hmm. So you know what? I want to read for you some of the comments I had on LinkedIn because
I love
think,
it.
Yes.
I'll tell you what. I'm not going to say who the clients are, but I think that most of the time really don't need to explain. Like all the CISOs understand the problem, and we never heard about someone who said, "Oh, you're not solving a real thing," or "This is not what we." But I had like one CISO that after 20 minutes demo told us, "Okay, I want to buy," and they onboard to the platform. That was this public company that I was mentioning with the SEC. But another LinkedIn message from yesterday or from last week, I'm sorry. I wrote the person on LinkedIn, it was lovely meeting you. And then he said, likewise, awesome what you have done. Onyxa will put us in a much better position to assess our security program and exposures. And the other comment from 2 weeks ago is another company, and the CISO said, it's been a while since I've been this excited by a new tool, so I'll be spreading the words to my colleagues, and that's really, I guess, you are the marketing experts here, but word of mouth is probably the best.
Only thing that matters. The only thing that matters.
And there's deep value and power in LinkedIn comments. Let's just for credibility and validation. I love that. Where can people go look at Anixia in more detail?
Everyone can connect me directly. We have our website, we have our LinkedIn page, and we're quite fast and responsive. So happy to connect with anyone who's interested.
It's amazing. Well, I would like to say thank you for hopping on and covering for our cohort, Chris, while he's traveling the world. And I just want to thank you as well, Sivan, for everything you've done. We've known each other for a short time, but you've always been super supportive of me and my career and what I'm trying to do, and very open-minded and just always willing to collaborate. And so I just really I'm happy to have you as part of the tribe, and I can't wait to meet you in person in a few weeks at RSA. It'll be great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's just the beginning, right? We're just starting.
Yes. We're just starting. Next year you're gonna be in our Airbnb. Just see. We're gonna expand this thing.
I love that. Danny, thank you so much as well. I'm very excited to meet both of you in person very, very soon. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and guess we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who have joined. We're stopping a little bit early today, but we will be back on next week. If you want to come on and talk about your products and stuff, let us know. This could be an interesting angle that we might be able to take, Maria, for the show. Every once in a while, bring on a keynote product and overview that and how they're helping the community. So, Sivan, thank you again. Thanks to everybody. This has been another episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Read? Tech Sales and Marketing Edition. We are out.